Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Monday, and all of our guests today, including Elliotte Friedman, standing by, sponsored by Passant Motors. It's the New Year New Ride event at Passant Motors. Looking to upgrade your ride? Check out the deals at Passant Motors. Learn more at Passant Motors, BASANT Motors.com. We're joined now by Elliotte Friedman from Hockey Night in Canada, the 32 Thoughts podcast. Back home after some time in Canmore, Alberta for Hockey Day in Canada. Elliotte, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
I'm good, guys. How are you guys doing?
Lovely. Really well. It's busy, obviously, but the three of us were talking. Actually, the four, because Derek got into this conversation as well. Hockey Day in Canada is always special. That might have been the best one ever, and I say that in large part because of the work you and the other people on that broadcast did. But, Elliotte, honestly, you could have run 18 hours of raw footage from Canmore, Alberta.
Oh, yeah.
And you would have got massive ratings. Just how special is that place? It's absolutely breathtaking.
Oh, it's beautiful. And I took some pictures of, just I'm not like a really big photo guy, but when you step out of your hotel room and you see, the mountains, the sun, a few guys actually came across elk just wandering around the hotel. I never did. Just like as usual, people don't like to hang around me very much, Don, so the elk weren't there. But it's a beautiful, beautiful place. I met a number of people. I walked through the city, the downtown just a little bit, and you meet so many people who come there from other parts of Canada, and they go visit, and they just never leave. And I can totally see why. It's nice, it's clean, it's quiet. If you're an outdoorsy person, there's a lot to do. And what really helped us in this particular case, Don, is the 4 games were great.
Oh yeah,
like your game against the Oilers was a great game. That Ottawa Boston game was a great game. That Calgary Winnipeg game was a great game. The worst game was probably Toronto Montreal, and Kyle was there, and he said the building was absolutely alive. So you're always ecstatic to have a night like that.
Yeah, well, it really was special. Great job, my friend. All right, Elliotte,
thank you.
You know what we're going to ask you. From what you know, can you take us through the events of Saturday or early Saturday, and even back to Friday, regarding J.T. Miller in the time leading up to puck drop versus Edmonton?
Sure, Don. Well, I mean, you should probably go back to Thursday. It was a really rough game. Yep. You guys lost to the Kings 5-1. It was over early. It was 3-0, less than 10 minutes in, and it was just a really bad night. Everybody was frustrated. After you come out of a game like the one against Winnipeg, you think you're back home, you're energized, even though it was a long road trip. You're energized. You're coming off a bad loss. You think you're going to show something, and you just were never in that game. And I think there was a real sense of frustration after that game was over. The Canucks amped. I don't know whether they restarted, amped up, whatever phrase you want to use, some trade talks, and it got to the point with the Rangers where at some time Miller was told he might not be playing, and I think there's a lot of semantics here. Formal trade request, no. Asked to waivers, no trade, no. But I think they knew if they got a deal done with the Rangers that Miller would be willing to go there. And, it depends on who you talk to. I mean, anytime someone goes to a player and says you might not be playing, a team thinks it's close. And on Saturday morning when I woke up in Canmore, and I'm not an early riser, but when I woke up in Canmore, I had a couple of notes, be looking into this. And, eventually... I think sometime Saturday morning, and I think it was just before the morning skate, I think the Canucks kind of realized that this may not be happening. And, we waited to see if it changed at all during the day. It didn't. He played. But it depends on who you talk to. I think the Canucks really thought there was something there. It obviously didn't happen. I don't know where it all stands with the Rangers, but I do think the Canucks are continuing to work on this. I don't think this is going away or anything like that. I think this is something they continue to work on, and we'll see where it goes. But the one thing that Miller controls is playing well, and he played one of his best games of the season on Saturday night.
Absolutely, he did. Hey, talk a little bit about, you also had a nice nugget on Saturday in the sense that Elias Pettersson has told the Canucks management Elliotte, that he doesn't want to be traded. He wants to stay in Vancouver.
Yes.
But his play has not been great. He's on pace, Elliotte, for 55 points, and he's making 11.6, and he's got 1 assist in the last 5 games. What's the dynamic with Pettersson right now, in your sense?
I thought he made a heck of a play at the end of the game against the Oilers to get the puck out of the zone. So again, the thing you control is your effort. I think this, Rick. I heard your interview earlier this morning. I heard what you had to say, and I agree with you that the Canucks are going through a phase where they think that they have to change the dynamic of their group, and they are going to change the dynamic of their group. And the question is, how far are they going to go? And I think if they really believe the fact that Pettersson came to them, I don't know if it was him or his agent who came to them, but it has definitely been communicated that Pettersson wants to stay. Even though he hasn't played great, I think the Canucks are receptive to that. Look, like there could be a lot of change here. We're talking about Miller, we're talking about Besser. If you add Pettersson to it, I mean, you're really, really you're not just doing like a small surgery, you're doing major surgery on your roster. I think with Pettersson's talent and his ability, the fact that he wants to stay, it's given them some pause. Obviously, if somebody calls them, they will listen, but I don't think they're as actively looking to do it as they may have been a couple of weeks ago. So, yes, he has to play better. There's no question about that, but I think it's one less thing that's at the front burner for the Canucks right now.
Quickly back to Miller, you had Carolina as a team that could be possibly interested in Miller. What's your sense on the offers the Canucks are getting? What's your sense on how many teams, Elliotte? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so there's a lot flying around right now. One of the things I always believe, Rick, is that there's more out there than we're seeing. There's always things that we miss. I believe the preference is sort of like Eastern United States for Miller. I don't know that he said he won't go anywhere in particular, but I think the Canucks, from what I've heard, the Canucks kind of know that is the preference. I do think now that I've heard about it a little bit more, I think Carolina's around there. I think the Rangers are still around there. They're not out. I am less convinced about New Jersey. I am less convinced about Dallas. I've kind of wondered about, I kind of look at it like I've wondered about the Islanders a bit, just because I don't know if they're really looking to pack it in or anything like that. I think they'd prefer to move forward as opposed to move back, but that's Lamoriello, so you don't know, right? Remember 2 years ago when they traded for Horvat, I think it was day of where I mentioned that I heard the Islanders were in it, and it happened that day.
Yeah.
So it's hard to predict, but I do think that the Canucks are acting under the idea that the preference is Eastern United States.
Okay. Horvat for Miller. You heard it here first.
Don't do that.
You think I'm the only person in this city who didn't think that when you said that? Of course.
Well, I had to put my Vancouver brain on it. I wasn't even thinking about that when I said it, and there you do.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing too is that I think one of the big questions here is that I'm trying to figure out, and right now it appears as if it's high, is how motivated is Vancouver to do this? And it seems like at this point in time, they're very motivated. So we'll see where it goes. And, the other teams kind of see that right now. They seem to see a situation where Vancouver is motivated to do this, but look, everybody thought they were close on Saturday and it didn't happen. So it's tough to say what the timeline's going to be.
I love that expression, Vancouver brain. I don't care how much you love Vancouver. Everybody knows what you're talking about there, Elliotte. Just before we let you go, this is unsigned in our Delaney's OK Tire in Langley inbox. My friend was attacked by elk in Banff, chased him into an alley, and had to hide between two dumpsters. So don't feel bad that you didn't see elk in Canmore, Alberta, Elliotte.
Yeah.
You know what? I first of all, I'm glad that didn't happen to me. Secondly, I would love to know, because like our guys were walking right around them, right near them. I'm beginning to wonder if there's half of this story is missing, and this unsigned person's friend may have done something to annoy the elk.
Yeah.
Because generally they just ignore you.
Yeah. Unless it's mating season, but that's a whole other story altogether.
I got to tell you, I have enough trouble on humans. I get some elk interested in me.
Okay. We'll leave that one alone. Elliotte, thanks for this. Appreciate it.
Take care, guys.
You bet.